Oh, we just got in from the airport. When was the last time you spoke with Jade?
Jade actually texted me when I was at the airport. Told me she had a great day.
Pam Moxley is Jade's best friend. And we found out that Jade hadn't seen her in over 20 years. Yeah, we have to be quiet because we're close to them.
I'm Pam Moxley. I met Jade in Bangkok. There was a few women and we went for tea, but we just hit it off and we've just been friends ever since.
20 years. We're walking up to the door.
Pam Moxley, my bestie. We keep in touch with each other nearly every day. I'll text her and I'll ask her what's for dinner and she'll take a picture of it and send it to me.
Jade and Pam haven't seen each other in 20 years because Pam has been fighting cancer.
I have advanced stage breast cancer. I got diagnosed in 2007.
The cancer has spread throughout her body now and she's having a tough time.
It's in my ribs, my shoulder, and my neck. I'm just surviving.
She's getting to the end stages of her fight with cancer now, and she just said, I'm going to go for it.
Jade and I have been trying to figure out a way to see each other.
Here's the moment. Shoot.
It's gonna make me cry.
Get right behind. Surprise for you. Let's go.
When I opened the door at the hotel and Pam was standing there, I lost my mind and fell out on the floor and started crying.
Watching her reaction was priceless.
What's for dinner, Jade?
I had no idea that Pam would be able to travel out here. And I saw her beautiful face standing there and it was just incredible.
She was excited. She had no idea.
Having Pam be there, it meant the world and then some to my mom.
I get emotional now. Because I feel like what Josh and Ingrid do touches a lot of lives. And they're granting not only her wish, but mine at the same time.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Oh my God.
I am, oh my God.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
Welcome to ATP Radio. I'm your host, KAren Swain, teacher of Deliberate Creation, showing you how to accentuate the positive, the way to a better life.
Your radio station is an example of the future existing right now.
Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
Hi, and welcome to Accentuate the Positive Media. I'm here with another really fascinating person. I'm so excited to be having a chat with Joshua Dawson, the Genie. Hi. Hi, Josh.
Hey,
how are you?
Hey, how are you? How was Australia?
Australia's great. So, Josh, you're in Victoria, Canada?
Yeah, Victoria, Canada. That's where we're calling home today.
And I'm in Sydney, Australia. That's where I call home today. But I've been following Josh for a couple of years, looking at his stories, doing amazing, amazing things, granting wishes for people as the Genie, AM Genie. But I'd like to get into your story, Josh. What happened to make you want to do this? What was going on for you?
Well, my father passed with cancer when he was only 53 years old, and it was one of those things where you just have an opportunity to either kind of let it knock you down or get up and dust yourself off and do something about it, where I always felt like I wanted to do, I wanted something good to come out of the experience of my father passing at such a young age. And I was, I re-looked at my whole entire life and started to wonder, why is it that I am even on this earth? And that particularly happened at my father's funeral, where I was kneeling down praying, and I felt this feeling come all over me, like every different emotion at once. It was really my father just saying hello to me. And then I started searching for that feeling again that I had never really felt before, consciously felt. And it really was a search for spirit, my own spirit. And I didn't realize that at the time, but it just kind of started to guide me in places and directions that I would have normally never went to. And the Genie came about one day when I was hungover in Montreal, Canada. Ingrid and I were there, and I was thinking about the last kind of fun day I had with my dad. We did a Wrangler experience where we got on horses and camped with him overnight and went all over the countryside. And I thought, well, I couldn't do this with my dad again, but I could do it for other people. I can surprise other people that have cancer with their wishes. So I proclaimed to Ingrid that I was going to dress up as a blue genie and travel across the world and grant wishes. And
I love the blue genie.
She thought I was...
She thought you were crazy?
Yeah, she thought I was crazy. Everyone else thought I was crazy, but and so I thought I was crazy too. I had no idea where the idea really came from. And going back to spirit, I think that's where all the best ideas, even though they might sound crazy, come from. And the Genie kind of popped out of the lamp, I guess.
There he is. So how old were you when all this was happening? How many years ago was it?
That was 7 years ago that we started doing the Genie experiences, and it's we really thought that we were just going to drive down to Miami and grant wishes to people who had cancer along the way, and then that would be the end of it because we'd run out of money and we go back to our regular jobs. But every step of the way, money seems to come from somewhere to be able to let us continue doing this for, it's our life now. It's the only thing that we do. It guides us in every direction that we take our life. So.
But you had an epiphany, more than just I want to grant wishes, because you were quite successful at the time, weren't you, in a business? What were you doing at the time?
Yeah, I had my own business called Big Day Out, and I sold it to one of Canada's largest travel agency, and they were the administrators for a visa program called CIBC Aventura Visa. That was so they wanted to buy my company, so I sold my company to them when my dad was actually sick. So after my dad passed, I sold the company so I could help take care of my father. And after my father passed, then I had all this money from the sale of my business and from an inheritance, and I was kind of lost for a couple of years after that, to be honest.
Okay.
Just not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. And then it was about 2 years after my father passed that the Genie idea came to me, because I didn't really know how to go about helping people. It was all about, before that, I was all about myself and what could, how do I start a business and make it successful, make lots of money and be cool and all that kind of stuff. And all those desires kind of left me after Dad passed. So it took me a while to take that all in and come up with this Genie idea.
So it hit you quite hard, the passing of your dad. 53 is young, so young.
Yeah, definitely. It was a very sudden thing, and to watch someone that you love so much go through the stages so quickly. So from when he went to the hospital the first time to when he passed, it was only 3.5 months, but it felt like 3 years.
Wow.
So I watched my father die or pass. I'd rather use the word pass, but I watched that happen in a short period of time, and it definitely affected me.
Mm-hmm. So how has your life changed from going from it's all about me and I'm going to make money to I want to grant people wishes?
Well, when you're in service of other people, your life changes in dramatic, unexpected ways that you never would have imagined. So the serving of others has served me. So when I talk about, people ask me, why do you grant wishes? And the real answer is because it makes me feel good. Exactly. That's why I do it. It's not because it makes other people feel good. That's why, I love that part of it, but that's not the primary reason why I do it. It's because it makes me feel good. And I love the look on the people's faces, and sometimes I feel quite selfish because of that. It's a really weird kind of thing that happens. But really, that's the real reason why anyone does anything, because it makes them feel good.
Absolutely.
And And what people don't realize is helping other people is the thing that makes you feel the best in the whole entire world, and it's the way that it is for everyone.
Exactly. Best fun you can have standing up, right, Joe?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Well, it's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's really interesting. It seems paradoxical, but when you put yourself out there in the service of others, you'll experience the most joy you'll ever want, really. Most people think it's all about the money and the house and the lover and the children and, you know, the holidays and all that sort of thing, but it's really about extending yourself because we're all connected. It sounds like you went on an intense spiritual journey after your dad died. Did you start asking those big questions like, who are we? Where do we come from? Or were you already kind of lined up with your spiritual understanding before he died?
No, I wasn't lined up at all. It was I thought it was a bunch of, if someone told me to read a Wayne Dyer book or a Deepak Chopra book, I wouldn't know who they were, number one. And I wouldn't have any interest in it whatsoever. I'd think that they were just full of shit, to be honest with you. So, but now it's, you know, that changed dramatically. So I can now, when I'm on the walk that I'm on right now, and people don't believe it, and they think that it's just you know out there, and you know you're up in the clouds, and you know come back down to reality. I can totally understand it, but I just don't. I don't see the world from that point of view anymore. But I don't.
It's so interesting.
I don't think it's a necessarily bad point of view. It's just when you experience both sides of the equation, then you can never go back to the way that you were, I don't think.
No, you can't. You can never go back. Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting because it was in my mother's death that I started asking those questions, and I was reading Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer, and I've got to say everyone looked at me and thought I was crazy. That was a long time ago, though. It was a long time ago. But I think that today less people are less judgmental of that. I don't know. There seems to be this expansion in this consciousness. And but what I love about you is you're putting your spirituality into practice. You're not just reading the books and proclaiming that you're, you know, spiritual now and I've changed my life. You're actually going out there and doing something with what you know. I mean, you know that we're all connected, so you've got that. And because you are me and I am you, what I do for you, I do for myself. I mean, that's ultimately isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the way it is that's your mental construct surrounding it. But in reality, it's, you know, it's not that we're all connected. We're all actually one. So, you know, when I do something for you, you do something. But if you I think you would take all that mental construct out of it all together, and there's just a feeling of connection when you do something for someone else because you're actually consciously like you're physically connecting with you. It's a wild thing to try to get your head around, but more than anything, everything that I do in my life is based on the feeling I just get ideas, and when I get a good idea and I have a desire to do that idea, I don't feel like the ideas are mine at all. They're just, when there's an extreme desire to do it, then I'll go do it. And I think that's what it's all about, really. And that's why I'm so action-oriented, because I don't feel like I'm fully realizing myself unless I'm actually doing something about the thoughts and the feelings.
Yeah, so you're acting on the impulse. So you're listening to your guidance. Because a lot of us get those impulses, you know, that, oh, that would be a great idea. And then the little negative thing comes in and says, you can't do that. Don't think that you can do. Who do you think you are that you could do that? And so a lot of people don't act on their impulses. You know, they have that impulse to act. Like, I want to do that. I want to give up my job and pretend I'm a genie and give people wishes.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess I'm lucky that I do act on my impulses, but sometimes they get me in trouble too on the other side of the equation. Oh, there's Ingrid.
Hi, Ingrid.
Ingrid, you're in the video.
I have to say, I think it might be cut out. I have to say it's really working for you because one, you've gained huge amounts of publicity in the States, especially, and in Canada, and people are really paying attention to what you're doing, and it's changing people's lives, both people watching you and the people's lives that you're changing by granting wishes. Tell me about the first wish. Let's go back to the beginning. What was the first wish that you granted when you decided, okay, I'm going to dress up as a genie and grant wishes?
Well, the first one was actually in Calgary. We decided we were going to test out the costume, and we went on Breakfast TV, which was a live TV program, and we had no idea who we were going to surprise. I don't know why we did that. So it was on live TV. We had no idea who we were going to surprise. I was getting interviewed. There was 3 segments, and we were going to just pick someone from the audience, or not from the audience, from the street, and then take them on a dream day and see what would happen. But we ended up meeting someone in the studio that was on that day, and we took this lady. She did a lot of good things in the Calgary area, and it was just, this really great day, and everything just kind of flowed, and it was amazing, and we were all over the news, and it was just like we just, Ingrid and I both got addicted to it at that moment. But it really was. There was no plan. We did plan out all the activities, but we had no idea who we were going to take on all these activities. We raced the Ferrari Enzo around a racetrack, and
a Ferrari Enzo.
Yeah, and a race car, and we did. What else did we do on that day? We went scuba diving, and we did some spa experiences and things like that. But it was like six experiences in one day, and when we first started doing it, we jam-packed the days with as much as we possibly could do, and we'd start at like 5 o'clock in the morning on the morning show. We'd end late that night, but as we started to get better at what we were doing, we started to tailor the experiences for the people that we were granting wishes for.
And then how did you choose people to grant wishes for after that?
After that, we came back we were living in Montreal at the time. We flew back to Montreal. After that was basically just a test. And then we planned a tour down to Miami. And we partnered with all these different cancer associations on the way down and asked them to nominate someone, and then we'd surprise them. So the first one was in New York, and we were in the New York Daily News, and picked the girl up in a limousine, knocked on her front door in the Bronx, me dressed as a genie. She wouldn't open up her door. And we had the New York Daily News with us because she was like frightened like it was in the Bronx. It was like some weird guy in a blue suit or a blue mask knocking on your door. She wouldn't open the door, and her husband ended up having to open the door because he was our accomplice. And her name was Millie. And she had stage 3 cancer, and we took her on an amazing day there. And then we did the same thing all the way down to Miami in an old beat-up Grand Prix. And it was like an amazing, it took like 2 or 3 weeks, and it was probably one of the most amazing months that we ever had. And
so you just
we knew we wanted to keep on doing it. But we planned out the whole thing when we drove down. So it took about a month of planning before we drove to Miami.
And what's been one of your favorites so far, life-changing ones that's really touched you?
The last one, we just recently filmed a pilot for a reality TV show. So we granted 30 wishes in 3 days in Los Angeles, and one was
you granted 3 wishes.
Granted 30 wishes. 30 wishes in 3 days. So that one was really emotional and intense, and the family that we surprised, we really got to know them quite well, and we did a lot of like high-level things that we've always wanted to do, like did a daycare image makeover. We did an experience with the LA Clippers, where he practiced with the LA Clippers. We did wedding vow renewal. We flew in one of their friends that had terminal cancer that they hadn't seen in 20 years, and that was an amazing experience. And it was just 3 days of everything that I imagined that the genie could be, and it was kind of it all came together in a 3 day span. And now the goal is to just do more of that, where we're doing more high level stuff that could like really kind of change a person's life.
And what's been your favorite person that's life that you've changed? Has anyone stood out?
The person that stands out, didn't necessarily change this person's life. That stands out for me the most is a lady that had terminal cancer, and I knew she was going to die. She knew she was going to die, and she was very weak. And we were driving in a convertible, and her hair was blowing. And she said, "You know what's so great about this, Josh?" And I said, "Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's great driving, and the wind's blowing in her hair." She said, "No. What's so great about this is that the love that's being expressed today is going to continue after I pass with my family. It's going to connect us forever. It's going to connect me and you and our whole family together forever." And that's always something that I've really held onto in all my wish grants, is that Ingrid and I want to create an experience that's going to last forever. So we want to express love that's going to last forever. So that's the one that really touched me and that always sticks with me for all my wishes.
And did she leave the planet not long after that?
Yeah, a couple of weeks later.
A couple of weeks later.
But they have all the video and the photos, and that's a big reason why we do a lot of media and everything with it, and why we want to capture it on film, because we want to leave that with them after the fact.
So are all the participants that you give the wishes to terminal, or?
It started off that it was mostly that, but it's kind of evolved since then. And now what we do is we grant wishes for what we call everyday heroes. And a lot of everyday heroes are people that have endured some type of hardship and overcome it, or they're in the midst of trying to overcome it. So, our remit or our mission is kind of expanded, where we grant wishes for a lot of different types of people, like caregivers, people that have different illnesses. You can name any type of person. We've probably granted a wish for them at this point.
Yeah. Down here in Australia, we have quite a few shows like Renovation Makeover, where people go to people's houses who are struggling financially, or maybe they're foster parents and they've got all these kids, or maybe they've just been sick and they've had a hard time, whatever, they've had a hard time, and someone nominates them, and then they go in and they take them out for a day out, and then while they're out, they renovate their house.
Yeah.
So that's popular down here. So they come home and they've got this whole new house, and they do it all, looks like on television. I don't know if it's the magic of television, but they do it all in one day. I think it's one day.
Yeah. But yeah, it might be a bit of magic and a bit of reality. It depends.
Yes, exactly.
The editing of our show was, looked a lot different on film than it did in reality. But yeah.
So is your show on television now, or?
No, we've got. It's been in the process. It feels like forever. But we finally got to the stage where we filmed like a whole episode. So we have a full episode. We brought it over to. We won New Producer to Watch at Cannes TV festival called MIPCOM, and then over there we met a distributor, and then the distributor is in LA, and he did a bunch of work for shows like Dallas and everything. And now we've just signed on with a big production company who've done some big TV shows. So. It's getting there, but it's one of those things. You get to the top of the peak of a mountaintop, and then you have another one to climb up.
Always.
So,
yeah.
But it's getting really close to the very top now. That's how it feels, anyways.
So when I first met you, you had the genie mask on, and I said, "Oh, the genie mask was looking a little bit frightening." And you said to me, "Yeah, a lot of people say he looks a bit frightening." How did you pick? It's hard to see. Stretch him out a bit. How did you pick the genie mask?
How could you not love that face? It was an old school. I wanted it to be something that would elicit an emotional reaction in people that they would never forget. And take them out of their reality. So I looked up genie masks. I didn't want to look like an Aladdin or like a Disney character or anything. So I found like an old school genie, an old picture of, like a folklorish kind of genie. And he was, definitely a little bit menacing and be careful what you wish for type of a guy. And I just liked that look. And at the time I was in a bit of a darker place than I am these days. So I think that is portrayed in the old genie too. So we just asked a mask company in California or in the States to make it. There's only like 2 companies that make these kind of masks, like of this quality. And they made it look a lot like the photo that I sent them.
So yeah, he is pretty fierce, and you had a bit of rejection to his fierce face, and you've come up with a softer looking mask. I noticed that you've done a new mask.
Yeah, we have a new, younger, gentler looking genie.
Younger, gentler, and sort of hip too. He's more hip. He's got like a tattoo on his head, but you haven't got that mask there. People will have to go and have a look. They'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, I just tried to go look for it, and it's somewhere in this house. But I was wearing it like 2 weeks ago, or less than that.
Have you had a good reaction to the new genie?
Yeah, I have. The only thing is I need to get the eyes aren't fitting the way that I would like them, so it makes me look a little bit cross-eyed. So that's the only reason I don't like the cross-eyed genie. So I need that's on my to-do list to get the eyes fixed. Okay. I do like it, but I think there needs to be another one even, and that goes back to what we want to accomplish with this. We don't want it to be about just me. We're going to create a Genie for Kids program where kids grant wishes for kids, and we give them costumes. So there's going to be lots of different types of genies around the planet before this is all over, I think.
So you're going to franchise it. There'll be genies everywhere granting wishes.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds very cool.
That's the long-term plan, and that's part of the reason why we want the TV shows, so we can have some type of an international presence and be able, that will power everything else too.
Because I'm sure you saw the movie The Secret. I mean, there's a big genie in that grants wishes. So yeah. I loved the fact of the genie because, law of attraction says, ask and you shall receive. And a lot of people feel like they haven't got wishes. They can't ask. I had a client that just left recently who was just feeling so unworthy, feeling like she doesn't have permission to have what she wants. And, the genie says you have wishes to fulfill. And really that's what life says, doesn't it? Like, life will grant you your wishes, but you need to feel worthy, and worthy enough to even ask for them. Have you found that?
I find I do it a little bit of a different way. I don't really ask I don't ask for many wishes to be granted. I kind of, I guess I ask Spirit or the genie what it wants me to do, for them. So when I do that, then they usually ask me to do. Spirit usually asks me to do some pretty big things, and then my wishes are granted through that. So it's a bit of a backwards way of doing it. But that's instead of asking for the wish, I ask, how can I be of service?
How can I serve? Absolutely. Yeah. But for the people that you're granting the wishes to, how do you know what they? I mean, do you speak to their partners and say, what's their biggest wish, or? Yeah. We always have an accomplice in the equation. So usually it's a husband or wife, or a close friend or family member, and we just ask them to find out what their wishes are, and then we get a list and we try to tick off as many things from the list as we can, and then we surprise them. So usually there's a planning period of 2 to 6 weeks, depending on what it is that we had to do. So not just one wish, you grant them quite a few wishes. We try to do as much as we can. It depends on how much time we have in the city and what our resources are, and the actual city. And we do it with them all the time too. So that's a big part of what makes us a little bit different than other people, is that almost all the wishes granted are, we're there with them, and we get to know them. So we establish a connection with the people. So what does Ingrid do in the equation? What's her role in the AM Genie?
She plans out a lot of the wish grants, and her job title is Director of Dreams. So she directs the dreams and keeps me in line, and we do a lot. We keep each other in line, and we do all of this together. So whether it's the inspirational events with people like Deepak and Wayne Dyer, and or if it's the wish granting events, then we kind of just...
Okay, so I see that you've been putting on a whole lot of events lately. Tell me about what you're doing with the events. You're getting some inspirational speakers and spiritual speakers to come and speak, and what's the intention behind the events?
The intention is twofold. One is it's fundraising, and all the profit from these events goes to the AM Genie Foundation, so we can grant wishes. But also it's so people can learn how to grant their own wishes, because we can only be there in so many places at any given time. So you want to teach someone how to fish. You don't want to just give them the fish. So that's the idea behind that. Is that we want to have people, like going back to what you were saying earlier, is feel a connection with Spirit, and then be able to ask Spirit for their wishes to be granted, or ask Spirit how they can be of service.
Absolutely. So how did it go with, who was the last person that you had the event with? So do you speak on stage with them, or how does it work?
Yeah, usually we'll play a little video, and then Ingrid or myself, or both of us will go and give a little talk, and then they come out. So the last event that we had, we did one we just finished actually 9 events in 35 days with Marianne Williamson, James Van Praagh, and Deepak Chopra.
Wonderful. And you have good attendance? You would with that lineup?
Yeah, well, they were all separate events, 3 with James, 2 with Deepak, and 3 with Marianne. But yeah, we had really good attendance for all the events. So they're doing really well for us, which we're very
so lots
thankful.
More funds there to grant some more wishes.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
That's what it's all about. And we, just the shows in and of themselves grant wishes as well. And we usually grant wishes at our shows.
Okay.
So we usually surprise someone from the audience and bring them up on stage before we start the show.
Well, these guys are so huge now, James Van Praagh and Deepak. I mean, they're hard to get in contact with. So I suppose that there'd be a lot of wishes. People like, I wish I could have a reading from, James Van Praagh, or I wish I could meet Deepak Chopra and shake his hand and get him to sign my book, or whatever, or Marianne Williamson, who's, she's out there doing amazing things with her political escapades at the moment. She's doing amazing things.
Yeah. So she's teamed up with Bernie Sanders, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he gets in the States. And Deepak's doing great things with trying to crack the code on everything, which is what he's trying to kind of do. He's trying to,
I saw Deepak interviewed with Oprah, and Oprah said to him, is there anything that you stress about? Because he pretty much doesn't stress these days. And the one thing he said that was quite surprising, he said, yeah, I want to get as much music out of me before I die as possible. And that kind of stresses me because I'm getting older. And so my period of time on this planet is getting shorter. So he feels like he wants to, speak to more people, connect with more people, do more teaching. Did you find that when you met him?
Yeah, totally. He's very efficient and very focused, but very sweet. And the more you get to know him, the more you realize how sweet he is. And he's not someone that when you get to know him, you don't really need to talk when you're in his presence, and you can almost talk without having to talk, which I like being around people like that. And then he's just probably one of the most intelligent men I've ever met, if not the most intelligent person I've ever met. So it's nice being around people like that. Like there's a saying that you are the top 5 or 6 people that you hang out with the most, and we've had the pleasure of hanging out with people like that recently. So they're the people that we probably are hanging out with the most these days. So it's rubbing off on us, I hope.
You know, I had this conversation with another guest, Sandra Champlain, who has a book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's View to Life After Death. And she interviews people as well. And she said, you know, I read that we're the top 5 people you hang out with, blah, blah, blah. And she said, but what if you don't hang out with very enlightened people, you know? Because she's a caterer in the racing industry. And then she had this epiphany that maybe the people you hang out with are the people's books that you're reading, or the people's, you know, videos that you're looking at, or so the people that you hang out with don't necessarily have to be physically in your life. They can be hanging out in your head too, you know, the people that you revere. So maybe I'm not hanging out with Deepak Chopra, but I am when I'm reading his books or watching him on YouTube or on Oprah. I'm even hanging out with Oprah if I'm watching her. So that was that was a great thought too.
I think that time and space are imaginations in our mind, and if you're connecting with them through their books, then you're connecting with them just as much, or probably even more so, than if you would with them in person. So,
exactly. So let me ask you, have you been hanging out with your dad since he passed?
Yeah, I hang out with him all the time. It's a funny thing what happened with my connection with my dad. As I progressed through, or I guess you would call it evolved or grown in expanded in the past 7 years, as my consciousness has expanded. At first I could feel him as a separate entity in spirit, and then it kind of progressed into we're just one now, and I don't feel him as being anything separate from me, except for rare occasions now. So it's not, I don't feel him tapping on my shoulder anymore like I used to, but it just feels, I don't feel any distance from him anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't have, or very rarely, some days I will, but I don't, I just feel like he's always with me at all times. And he's just as much a part of me as I am me. So it's a nice feeling. So I don't miss him. In that way, I don't miss him. I miss him very rarely.
Yeah, there you go. Do you talk to him?
Yeah. I talk to, not him specifically, I talk to spirit. I talk to, it's like talking to myself, I guess. I talk to myself, and we have lots of conversations for sure. Yeah. We usually, I do most of my talking when I'm pissed off, actually, to be honest. Over, I'm one of those bad, people that pray only when, they get mad. When I get mad at God, God knows for sure. So, but other than that, it's not a conversation. It's more of a feeling of, it's hard to explain, but I just feel my way through things. I don't necessarily talk to anyone about it. It's not like a go do this, or it's more like it feels like I should walk over here and talk to this person. So I do.
Because the image I get is him being with you, like that image that you gave me of this woman being in the car and the hair flying back, and she was saying, what's great about this is the love that I feel will continue. It's like I see him sitting in the back seat, like enjoying the ride, like woohoo, because he was the inspiration behind it, really. I mean, his transition, his passing, to someone who's transitioned is no tragedy. But to the ones that are left behind, that's where that's where we come up with new ideas about who we are and what we're doing here. But I see. Yeah,
I just felt, when you talk about him, if you want to give him a name, it's like the tingles that go up from your spine all the way up to your head and down to your feet. I just felt that just then. So that would be him.
That's Dad. So, hey, Dad. High five.
Hey, how's it going? But I don't talk. It's just like it's the tingles that we converse with. Those tingles, I guess, is the best way to put it. But yeah, he's definitely here at all times.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of the story with you, because it started out with grief and missing, and doing something in the service of others has brought you closer to your dad, and now you don't miss him anymore. I mean, how great is that?
Well, we have a better relationship now than we used to. It's like, it was, when you have a relationship with someone in human form, and this sounds really kind of out there, but when me and you were talking to each other, we put up these walls just with our personalities. So I don't have any wall with my father anymore. There's no personality issues anymore. It's just a pure connection. So we're much closer now than we ever were.
Yeah, which is the beauty of all of our friends and family that transition, because I would imagine that because you're dealing with people that are terminally ill, you've seen a lot of people leave the planet, that you've made a connection with, and you've been around a lot of people that are grieving. You've been around families that are grieving. They're probably grieving even because the person's going to die more than when they do die. So how do you deal with these people that are sad and grieving about, is granting the wishes enough?
Well, that's the best part about it. People say that, that must be the hardest part of your job, but I feel like that's the part that I enjoy the most, and it's because you are bringing them some. I'm attempting. I don't do it all the time, or we don't do it all the time. We're attempting to take them away from their pain by bringing them into the moment of the wish.
Exactly.
So when we do a good job, then we do that. So that's my focus when I go into any wish granting experience, is to take them away from the pain, not to think about. I'm not really even thinking about whether or not they're going to pass. I'm thinking about what we're going to do right now.
Yeah, in the moment.
And that usually, if you do a good job with that, then it takes away all the rest of that crap. And I do realize that they're going to go back to that because they have to deal with pain and the fact that they may pass soon. And then when they do, if and when they do pass, then a lot of times I'll feel them again. And I feel like it's not just my father, it's all the people that have passed that we've surprised, that helped me and Ingrid and whoever's doing this. They guide us as a total group, not just one person.
And tell me, have you seen any of the people that have been in contact with what you're doing sort of turn around and say, wow, this has changed my life, I'm going to go out there and help others too?
Yeah, it almost happens all the
time?
Not all the time, not every time, but in most occasions when someone is helped, they want to help someone else. I think it's just a natural occurrence that, it's like the pay it forward concept. If you're at a Starbucks and someone pays for your Starbucks, you're probably going to buy someone else's Starbucks. So that's the basic premise behind it all, and it's a natural occurrence, and we don't see it all the time, but we know it's all about inspiring people, and the word inspire to me means in spirit, and it's that's what it's all about. We're bringing people back to their spirit, and then that spirit wants to help others.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, darling, you're doing such fantastic work. So when are you coming down under?
As soon as we can. I lived down under in 2000. I moved there 5 days before the Olympics started, and
right. So you came to the Olympics in 2000?
Yeah, and we were literally there, landed there. I was there. I started my job like 2 days after the Olympics ended with the post-Olympic hangover, and I had the most amazing 1 year of my life down there. So that I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, it's a pretty special place. I have to say, Sydney during the Olympics was incredible. It was magical. A lot of Sydney-siders were doing pessimistic stuff, saying, oh, it's going to be so crowded. Oh, it's going to be chaos. Oh, I want to get out of here. But actually, the opposite happened. Yes, the world came to Sydney. Well, a lot of the world came to Sydney to watch the Olympics. But there seemed to be this energy in Sydney, like when you went into the city, I don't know, I can't even explain it. It was just magical. It was like people were floating. Yeah. There was a connection between people I had never seen before, where people in the street were talking to each other. I was standing at a pie stand in the city and talking to the person next to me, and everyone started talking to each other as we were lining up to buy some pies. And I was thinking to myself, I've never seen such expensive pies in my life, but, there you go, it's the Olympics. But there was this magic. And when we went to the Olympics, even though we were in these massive queues and we were lining up, everything seemed to work smoothly. I don't know. It was very strange.
It was very organized, very well organized. I lived in Darling Harbour, so I was right in the middle of it all. And I just had a ball, and it was so well organized, and you'd go to all the different, each bar had a different country associated with it, so you'd pop around all the places, and it was a really cool time to be in Sydney. Sure.
So do we have to have another Olympics to get you down here?
No, I just we're gonna if and when the show gets the green light, then we're gonna the idea is to travel around the world, and we go to 13 cities and we have 3 days to be able to grant as many wishes as we can for a family or someone in a different city around the world. So Sydney will definitely be a stop on that tour.
Well, that'll be fantastic. I can't wait to see the genie down under. All the genies.
Yes, exactly. We'll have to start a genie posse down there. Genie tribe.
A genie tribe, that's right. You'll have to have a genie party. Everyone dresses in blue.
Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Like Avatar. Everyone's in blue. I say that because my daughter had an Avatar party and there was blue paint all over the house. Josh, it's been such a joy and a blessing talking with you today. Thanks so much. And where can people find out more about I Am Genie and get involved?
Go to amgenie.org, and that has all the links to our Facebook page and all that stuff there. So that's the easiest way, amgenie.org.
So, and can they see the films of what you've done?
On the main page, I think there's a link, but if not, click on the Genie Reality page, and that will have some videos to that. And go to the Facebook page, and you can see all the most up-to-date things as well.
Fantastic. It's been such a joy talking with you today. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye for now.
Thanks so much for joining us for another enlightened conversation on Accentuate the Positive. If you would like spiritual guidance from my guides, Blissful Beings, go to KarenSwain.com for a reading, or to listen to more enlightened thought leaders share their wisdom. Go to the listen page on KarenSwain.com and choose who you want to listen to. All the podcasts are also available on iTunes. Remember to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, you name it, we're there. Until next time, bye for now.
Clap along if you feel like